So now we're going to be talking about prorating hours. And before we get into that, I just want to reiterate that anytime a participant is approved benefits on any day after the first of the month, we need to make sure that we are prorating hours and that an initial WPA with those prorated hours are completed for that participant, and then also an additional WPA is completed for the next month and ongoing. And so at initial appointment, we should always be doing a minimum of 2 WPAs. Now, when we're talking about prorating, we are going to be using the working days left in the month, including holidays. Now, if we do not include holiday time for those non-paid work activities, if somebody's placed in, we cannot then give them holiday time on their timesheet. So it's very important that we include those holiday time, the holidays, into that proration as a working day. The other thing is that we're making sure that we're checking best place in Aspen as a benefit issuance to clearly get an accurate idea of what the benefit enrollment date. The benefit enrollment date is the day that the benefits that the participant was approved. So let's say, for instance, maybe they started paying out benefits come the 3rd of the month, but for whatever reason there was a glitch or something of that sort where the benefits weren't on their card until the 7th. We would still make sure that we include that 3rd. It's just like a business or a job, actually. Once you start getting that money, you're expected to start those hours, and that's really how the federal government looks at DISAG and ensuring that the participants are doing their mandatory hours. So let's say, for instance, we have an individual who was approved on 10/12, okay? We're going to be looking at the working days left in the month. And we are going to count the 12th because they were paid money on their card starting for the 12th. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if we use this, we have 14 working days left in the month, and we are going to multiply that by, depending on what the household composition is. So let's just do an easy one for right now. Let's say, for instance, that it's a single parent household with a child under the age of 6, and so their normal, given a full month, their normal requirement would be 86 core hours. And so the way a lot of people ask, well, how do we come up with, the average per day? If you take those 86 hours and you divide it by 21 days in a month, generally on average we have about 21 days in every month, that's going to give you 4 hours. Now, it's very important that we never tell participants, if you do 4 hours a day every work day, you're going to meet your hours, you're going to meet 86, because that's not necessarily true. We have some months, for instance, February, where they don't have as many working days in the month. And so for the month of February, maybe that participant has to do 5 hours a day, or 5 hours or 6 hours, 1 day a week, something like that. So that way, at the end of the month, they have their full 86. And so in this case, we're going to look at, as I stated before, a single parent household with a child under the age of 6. Their average amount of hours that they would have to do per day would be 4 hours. So we would multiply that by 4, and we would get 56 hours, okay? So this would be the prorated amount of hours for this prorated month of October based on them getting approved on the 12th of the month, okay? Let's go ahead and, excuse me, Let's go ahead and take this a step further, okay? So we've looked at a case with a child under the age of 6. Let's look at a single parent household with a child over the age of 6. Now we can do this one of two ways. Their requirement the requirement for a single parent household with a child over the age of 6 is a total of 129 hours, of which a minimum of 86 hours have to be in a core requirement. And so it's really important to make sure that when you're prorating, when you're getting into prorating and you're having core and non-core, you know, it really is essential to make sure that you're prorating based off of your core requirement and your non-core requirement. So the average number of hours are going to be a little bit different. Now, if you end up giving them all in a core requirement, it's perfectly fine. But we want to make sure that we are not under assigning where the core requirement is concerned, because we're not going to meet DISAG if that's the case. So right here, we can, as I stated before, we can do this a couple ways. And this really comes in handy whenever you have a participant who's going to, going to HSE, trying to get, their diploma, or maybe they need ESL classes. This is really where we can really start working with the participant and breaking down those barriers. So you have a child with the age over 6, single parent household. We're going to look at the core requirements first. And so we just did that. 14 times 4, once again, that's going to give us 56 core hours. This is the minimum amount of core hours that this participant would have to do in this prorated month. Now let's go ahead and look at their non-core requirement, okay? We're going to multiply that by 2. That is going to give us, let me just move this over. Just put that there, actually. That is going to give us 28, okay? So these can be, once again, core or non-core, okay? But now you know, and if you have that individual that really needs, that non-core, you can break it down just like this, and you can make sure that you give them at least 56 hours in a core and 28 in a non-core. Now, could you also do this? Which would be the 4 plus the 2 for a total of, what's that, 14? 84 hours? Yes, you can, okay? You can definitely do it that way. And this I would recommend would be completed or done whenever you have somebody who is work ready or they need those skills. They already have their high school diploma, so we don't necessarily need to fill that core requirement. And this would be 84 hours. However, because we didn't break it down this way, all of these hours would need to be core, okay? And once again, I would definitely do it this way if, for instance, they weren't meeting those non-core. Are we hitting at least a minimum of 86 hours by assigning 84 core? Yes, we are. And so it would be okay to do it this way. Just, I want to give you different ways for you to just start thinking on better ways that you can help your participants.